Space Spheres, a cosmic horror short story by John Adams Thibert, Jr. Word count, 7,200. Chapter 1, The Ship. I found myself in an old wooden chair, sitting there and looking out the porthole before me. It looked like I was on a military ship. It was a long way down past the porthole. There were small waves in the bright sunlight. What am I doing here? I thought. My nerves went on end with confusion and fright. The rust-covered room was empty except for this chair. The walls were coated with flaking and bubbling aquamarine paint. The rounded, rectangular, heavy steel door was open, creaking and making that high-pitched metal-on-metal sound as it swung back and forth about 6 inches with the ship's sway. I was dumbfounded about being here. Cautiously, I got up and crept into the hallway. "Hello?" I shouted, scanning the dimly lit hallway. It looked like puddles of oil were in random locations, and some were smeared or sprayed on the walls. The hallway smelled musky, sort of like an outhouse. I slinked down the hallway, careful not to enter the puddles or touch the walls. There were no signs of life. What the hell is going on, I thought. My face flexed with anger. Some grated metal stairs were leading up to the deck. A fluctuating column of light partly lit the stairwell from the swaying, partially open door, revealing the dust in the air. I ascended the stairs to investigate. My boots clanked on the metal as I climbed. I rushed to get to the top of the stairs. The heavy, tightening feeling of panic started to creep from my chest into my throat. I swallowed deeply. As I reached the top, I opened the door and saw the deck of an aircraft carrier. What am I doing on a carrier? I thought. I felt my jaw tighten with rage and my fists clenched. "Is anyone out there?" I yelled hoarsely. I looked down at my clothing and saw I had white navy duds on, but they were all ripped up and stained with large brown blotches and speckles. I tried to rub the stains off, but they were hard, like dried blood. I must have been in an accident, I thought. On the deck, I could see clear evidence of obvious carnage. There were body parts in various places with pools and streaks of blood near them. I gasped when I realized the devastation. I started to hyperventilate and shake. I put my hands over my mouth and nose and coughed. After recovering, I noticed the deck was clear of jets and choppers. I walked out onto the deck, careful not to step near any body parts or in any blood. I looked around carefully and saw someone on the far end of the flight deck. I felt a slight headache from the bright light reflecting off the carrier's light gray surface. I braced myself against a strong crosswind gust. "Hey!" I shouted, but I did not receive an immediate response. I walked towards him some more. When the sound reached him, he turned around and ran towards me. I saw him a little clearer as he approached. He was big, clean-cut, and muscular, wearing a gray jumpsuit. "You're alive! Where did you hide?" he said. "I don't know what you mean. I replied, "Never mind. Come with me. Where are those pus things? Did you see where they went? Come on," he said, leading me down to the other end of the ship. "What do you mean, pus things? What happened here? Who attacked? Where are the aircraft?" I asked. "It was those pus things, man. Everything just went wild. The pilots crashed all the planes and choppers. Those pus things were eating people. I just watched it all from here. I was too scared to move until you came out. It's ridiculous. Something just attacked us. Something I don't know what, like slime, but we've got to get out of here. Didn't you see it?" he shouted. He was somewhat out of breath and dazed. "What was it? What did you see?" I questioned. "I saw it all. Everyone was on deck for a ceremony, and then we were all attacked by slime falling out of the sky. The slime landed on some of the crew, making huge sores on their skin that got as big as basketballs and even bigger. The blisters fell off the guys, and they started rolling around the ship's deck and then attacked. Somehow they grew teeth and a mouth. I saw them biting off arms and legs. Some blisters got bigger by eating people and started exploding, covering others with that slime. Some guys turned orange and began acting bonkers, and others had prominent blisters growing out of them. All the blister things rolled down into the ship. I could hear screaming and yelling, but the rest of the crew were all orange and didn't do anything to stop those pus things. The crew just helped the pilots take off and crash out there like they were all wacko," he said. For some reason, he didn't ask my name. I'm Dag. What's your name? Dag, you have got to be joking, he said. What do you mean? I don't know you, and I don't even know how I got here. Are you kidding? You have got to be kidding. Let me look at your head, he said, and looked at the back of my head. Wait, you got blood stains on the back of your shirt, too, and you got blood in your hair. Whoa, you got a big gash on the back of your head. Are you telling me you have amnesia? What? You can't remember me. Dang, Dag, it's me, Keith. Yeah, I swear I can't remember, I said. Yeah, right, Keith said, chuckling, shaking his head, and motioning for me to follow. I followed him to the ship's island and down multiple flights of stairs into the ship. Some light was coming from a door that led down into a large main hangar deck. Oh, no, nothing. Dang, is everyone just completely insane? Everything is gone, Keith said. I heard some sounds come from the gallery deck up the stairs. What's that? I said. It's those things. They must be tracking us. Get down. He shoved me down to the floor and he ran. Hey, what are you doing? I got up and ran after him. He must be hallucinating. I might have to restrain him, I thought. I chased him up an adjacent flight of stairs to the flight deck. I caught up with him and stopped him by grabbing his jumpsuit. He struggled and then pulled his knife out and cut me under my left arm. I held onto his jumpsuit with all my strength, but the cut he gave me weakened me and I lost my grip. You're one of them. You puss thing, he yelled and tried to cut me again, and then I passed out from the lack of blood. When I came to, I was out in the ocean. He must have thrown me over the side of the ship. The gash must have been deep because I started to black out again. Just before I blacked out, I saw the boat moving farther away and something on the runway. Many light, dark brown or tan round objects were moving everywhere. I didn't recognize them except for what Keith said. They must have been those things he was talking about. Then darkness. Chapter 2. The lab. Am I underwater? I guess I am still alive. I thought. I felt like I was breathing underwater, asleep, but I couldn't wake up. Can I move? I thought. I tried to touch my face and see if I was alive. I felt something on it. I had a mask on, and some tubes were going up from the mask. I reached forward with my arms. I felt something smooth, flat, and solid like glass. I couldn't see anything. Am I blind? I thought. I heard something, muffled thumping. Light flooded in. I was in a tank filled with water and lying down. I saw a light over the water and an image of a person coming into view. The water tank moved and turned upright while the water rushed out and down a drain. I saw a blurry face. Hi, can you hear me? The face asked. I nodded my head yes. I am going to remove the mask, the face said. After the mask was removed, I could see more clearly. It was a woman about 30. The woman had brown hair and was wearing a lab coat. I couldn't talk. I tried to move, but I had straps holding me down. You are back from the dead. For some reason, you were still breathing when we pulled you from the ocean. We didn't think you were alive because your heart was not pumping and your lungs were full of seawater. I struggled to try to talk. She must have noticed. You won't be able to speak. Your vocal cords are swollen from being exposed to salt water. You must be wondering where you are and who I am. This is a top-secret medical and zoological scientific research facility on Midway Island. I am Miss Stripes, and it's my code name. Several other scientists came through the double doors to the right of a large mainframe computer, which looked as though it were waterproof. The room was all white, with a circular staircase leading up to my position like I was on a stage. One of the older male scientists said, Miss Stripes, what are your findings here? I have not determined what has caused our merman here to survive. I need to run more tests and treat him for his condition, Miss Stripes said quickly. Very well, Miss Stripes, that is all, the older man said. Miss Stripes called in some attendants. 3 men in pressure suits came in with a thick, clear, flexible plastic covering a stretcher. They removed me from the tank, placed me on the stretcher under the plastic covering, and placed a gas mask over my face. They zipped up the cover on top of me. I reached up and could barely touch the top of the plastic covering me with my arms fully extended upwards, but I was too weak to struggle. The loosely draped plastic distorted the outside images. We were in a large hallway about 12 feet wide. I started to go under. I guess they were giving me sleeping gas. I woke up in a hospital bed with an IV in my right arm. I looked down at my skin. It was as white as the sheets that were draped over me. Miss Stripes came in. I tried to speak. Miss Stripes, I said in a quiet, gravelly voice. She smiled and said, "How you doing? You can call me Dr. Watts." I tried to speak again, hoping I was a little louder. "Okay, I guess. Where am I?" "You're in the infirmary. We transferred you here 1 week ago. We kept you in an artificial coma to help reduce your brain swelling. It looks like you're going to be completely recovered in a few days, which is fairly remarkable," Dr. Watts said. "Oh, when can I leave?" I asked. She laughed and said, "We may have to keep you for a couple more days. Wait a minute while I look over some of your stats." She walked around the room from machine to machine for about 5 minutes and then returned. You may still need more treatment for a few days. Your blood pressure is low and your temperature is low as well," Dr. Watts replied. "Does that explain my ghostly complexion?" I questioned. "It might, but I have some questions for you when you're ready," Dr. Watts requested. "Okay, ask. I will try my best to answer," I responded. "What happened to you before you floated in the ocean?" Dr. Watts asked. I told her the story and saw her gasp when she heard me mention the things. "So you must have been exposed to those fleshy blobs. They seem to be docile. We have not had any trouble with them. It seems that they are made of human flesh. The U.S. Navy recaptured the carrier group and brought it to Midway. We have been studying those fleshy blobs for weeks now." I remembered Keefe. There was a man on board named Keefe. "Is he okay?" I asked. No one was on board. The report said it was completely abandoned. From what we saw on board, everyone must have been killed or lost, and you must be the only survivor," Dr. Watts replied, and, I had hoped he would be okay. He attacked me, but I guess he was just terrified. He said he saw those flesh things slaughter the whole crew. I didn't believe him at first, but I saw something that could have been those things just before I drowned, I replied. "That's too bad. I guess he was attacked, but we didn't find him. It was lucky for you that you floated so close to Midway, or you could have just washed up on some shore or been eaten by sharks, and we would have never found you. You seem to have a strange ability to hibernate from oxygen. Somehow you can hold your cells together without oxygen to keep them alive. We still don't see how you did it, and we tested you for weeks. I believe you were exposed to those fleshy blobs, and they somehow changed your biogenetics to allow you to hold your breath, so to speak, for weeks," Dr. Watts said. "Well, I suppose that is a secret only you and your team know of at Midway," I queried. "Yes, I am here undercover. We are at a low-security facility at Midway. You see, I wanted to give you your life back. I am checking to see if you will cooperate with us now. I hope we can solve this problem together," Dr. Watts said with slight apprehension. "Okay, I will cooperate, but what about my amnesia? I don't remember where my life was before this," I said. "I will have the ship's records checked for your ID. I hope we can find your past from there. Normally that is standard protocol. However, we overlooked that because of your bizarre condition. I do apologize. It should only be a few days before we know the answers," Dr. Watts said. "Now get some rest. I will have the nurse give you some medication for your condition. After you recover, I will have you transferred to the top-secret research facility for processing so we can continue the investigation." Chapter 3. The Bunker. After I finished recuperating, we proceeded to the top-secret research facility in an underground bunker, created by the Navy during World War II. A small above-ground outpost with a large satellite dish on top was the only indication that anything was there. The green glass main entrance area had a sterile look. We proceeded through the main rotating doors, and then she showed me where to wait. There was a security guard station with 2 guards stationed there. I saw a camera at the entrance pointing into the small lobby. After about 15 minutes, Miss Stripes returned and pinned a top-secret security clearance card on my shirt, which read, "Mr. Waves." "Remember, you will be Mr. Waves from now on in the facility. Miss Stripes said. We went through the metal detectors and down the hall into the facility. I want to show you those fleshy blobs that we found. We have about 1,000 of them here, Miss Stripes said excitedly. We moved them here after the aircraft carrier battle group arrived, Miss Stripes said. I hope you are taking precautions. Keith told me those flesh things can grow teeth and gaping mouths, I said with a sense of dread. Oh, we didn't see that they had any teeth in them at all. They are just, it would seem, like big, soft mounds of flesh. They move around by rolling. We don't think that they are dangerous, but I will make sure that we consider this more carefully, Miss Stripes replied more soberly. We came to large, vertically moving elevator doors that said high security area in big red letters. Miss Stripes had to use a magnetic security card and enter a code into the machine to get access. We both walked through the large elevator doors and into an elevator. Miss Stripes swiped her card on the card reader inside the abnormally large elevator and typed in another security code and the floor she wanted to go to, which was B10. The elevator slowly lowered with a loud humming sound. As the elevator moved, the fluorescent lights flickered from the jostling. Finally, at the end of the descent, the elevator stopped with a jolt, causing the lights to blink again and hum. Miss Stripes swiped her card and entered the code to open the doors. A long, white, tiled hallway was before the elevator doors. The white, tiled hallway had a big red stripe running down each wall. At the end of the long hallway was a wide plastic doorway. The thick plastic reminded me of the plastic that covered me on the stretcher. Beyond the doorway was a large room with white walls. Within the spacious room, several chambers were walled off with thick glass. White doors led into the glass chambers on the walls behind the glass. Those flesh things were on the other side of the glass in the chambers, with some scientists in pressure suits studying them. Don't they need weapons to protect themselves just to be safe? I said, somewhat stunned. Don't worry. They are fine. They have attacked no one. And we don't even think they could attack, Miss Stripes replied. I don't want to alarm you, and I could be wrong, but Keith told me those things were eating the people on that ship. I didn't see them do it, but never heard of such creatures. What are they, or do you have any idea? I replied. We have just started the testing recently. There is no evidence as to what they are yet. After several minutes, we waited and watched the creatures sitting there, sometimes rolling slightly. Some scientists came through the plastic door, and we started to follow them. Come with us, and we will get some answers, Miss Stripes said. We went through some other white swinging doors, down a long white tiled hallway with blue stripes, and into a conference room with a large mahogany table with reddish-brown leather chairs around it. The room was big enough for about 30 people, but we only numbered 7. We all sat down. I sat next to Miss Stripes. One of the more senior-looking scientists stood up. I am Mr. Plaid. Welcome to the facility. To my left are Miss Dots, Miss Hatch, and Mr. Swirls. To my right are Mr. Bland, Miss Stripes, and Mr. Waves. We are on the verge of making some very dramatic discoveries. The strange spheres that you have seen in the isolation chambers are under tremendous scrutiny at this point. We have had them for about 6 weeks and have not yet determined their exact genus or species. Some theories exist, however. Miss Dots has most of the initial reports ready. A tall, slender, young-looking woman in a white lab coat with round wire-framed spectacles stood up and said, "Thank you, Mr. Plaid." Miss Dots pushed her glasses further onto the bridge of her nose and looked down at a report in an open manila folder she held. My initial report contains the DNA and tissue analysis. It is pretty conclusive, however strange it might seem, that the DNA and tissue of the specimens are both of human origin. The specimens have no internal organs or any solid structures. The membranes that compose their outer layers are identical to human skin. They are filled with a gelatinous fluid filled with trillions of nanoscopic amoeba-like organelles that can only be seen with the scanning tunneling electron microscope. This brings me to the theoretical conclusion that these spheres are a human hybrid of what I don't know. We have some guesses, but none have been conclusive, so that I won't bore you with guesses. We do think, however, that the specimens are completely harmless. We are about to have a demonstration in the viewing room. If you will all, please come with me, Miss Dot said. then walked out the door we had just come in and led us to the same room that we were in, which had glass enclosures with the creatures behind them. We all lined up in a row in front of a small glass chamber containing a man surrounded by 3 creatures. The man took off the helmet of his pressure suit while still in the chamber with the creatures. I didn't think that was a good idea, but I didn't run things around here. He took off his gloves and reached down to touch a creature. He had a microphone attached to him. The spheres you see here are, in our estimation, lots of human flesh and protoplasm, which has grown separate from the body somehow, we think, relying on the single cell it is made up of to support its growth. We have not noticed much growth since the spheres arrived, but we guess they must have eaten something elsewhere to get so big. What that is, we don't know. The voice sounded a little scratchy because it was coming over an intercom. I will attempt to pick one up. He did so with his bare hands. It feels like skin to the touch, but is room temperature. I will attempt to get it to react by tossing it. He started to toss it. It does seem to react when tossed. It feels like it. As he tossed it up in the air just over his head, a deep gurgling sound came from the sphere, and it exploded. Many clear slime and skin pieces splashed all over him and the room. The sphere looked and sounded like a large water balloon when it blew up, only far more gruesomely. Oh, yuck, I am sorry, I must have... He started to turn orange and began to vomit. Oh, I have to get to medical. He then walked out of the door on the wall behind the glass. I am sorry for the inconvenience. This was not expected, so please bear with us. I am sure Mr. Paisley will be fine, so don't worry. Everyone, please follow me. I will take you to a waiting room while we wait for more information, Miss Dot said with frustration. She led us out of the room through swinging steel doors down a long concrete hallway. The hallway had large bundles of steel conduits bolted to the ceiling. We then proceeded to a smaller elevator and then to the top floor. The view changed as we exited the elevator, making the ocean and the offshore aircraft carrier group visible. We saw no doors in a different outpost or holding area. One security guard was seated at a black steel desk with a large plastic old-fashioned telephone and some neatly stacked 3-ring binders. So there was an American flag and a bronze lithograph of Midway Island on the wall behind the security guard. The room had a polished concrete floor. In the center of the room was a row of wooden benches with leather cushions on the seats and backrests. Everyone, please wait here. I will be back to inform you of the status of the demonstration and the condition of Mr. Paisley, Miss Dot said, then left down the elevator. We sat down on the benches. We started theorizing about what the strange spherical flesh objects could be. I told my story about what happened to me on the carrier. About 30 minutes later, the elevator doors opened, and Miss Dotz ran into the room and announced that the demonstration was canceled. She said nothing about Mr. Paisley, but her voice cracking told us something was wrong. Miss Dotz directed us to the elevator and said, I am going to a different secure location. Please wait here, and I will send the elevator back to you. Go directly to the security guard station at the entrance of this facility. You will be advised of the situation from there. After the elevator returned, we went the way we had come with the assistance of Miss Stripes. We passed the glass viewing room, but no spheres were in the chambers. Miss Stripes led us the rest of the way to the security area. We will have to wait here. I don't know any more than you, but I guess Mr. Paisley is in serious condition, Miss Stripes said. After about 10 minutes, a security officer escorted us off the facility. He didn't have any information that could help. We were all given temporary lodging keys and told that the facility and everyone there was quarantined. Chapter 4. The Barracks. The security guard drove us in a bus to a military-controlled compound and said that we would have to stay there until further notice. We were all given quarantine badges at the compound that we would have to wear always or risk being arrested and thrown in a military holding cell. The security guard who had brought us to the compound said we would be informed of the situation and when the quarantine would be over as soon as the information was available. He left on the bus, and we all decided to go to our lodges and meet later at the cafeteria for dinner. The rooms had 2 bunks and looked like old military-style barracks. After about 2 hours, a truck came with provisions, clothes, and bathroom supplies. The clothes were military issue. We all went to dinner in our business clothes, determined not to wear the military stuff until necessary. The cafeteria food tasted like old rations. The cook didn't talk to us, but just seemed to do her job like everything was normal. We didn't have to pay for the food since this was an unexpected quarantine. I wonder what the deal is over at the facility. This seems to be rather serious, I said. Yes, it is, and I don't think we are entirely safe if those things can do what you say, Miss Stripes said. I thought that they looked quite harmless, said Mr. Plaid. And I don't see why we have to be quarantined. We didn't even come in close contact with the creatures, Mr. Swirls said. I am suspicious about how things are being handled, too. This is rather unusual, said Miss Stripes. I feel we should stay alert tonight, just in case they try some funny business, Mr. Bland said. You're right. I wouldn't put it past a secret government organization to try to cover up this sort of thing if it's horrible, Miss Hatch said. We all kept watching by taking turns. Miss Stripes went first, then me, Miss Hatch, etc. On Miss Stripes' watch, nothing happened. Each watch was about an hour so that we all could get enough sleep. I thought I saw something in the trees behind the barracks on my watch, but when I looked closer, I didn't see anything else, so I just thought it must have been an animal or something. I told Miss Hatch, and she said it was strange. However, she would be extra vigilant on her watch. I went to bed, but I didn't go to sleep right away. I looked out the window. The streetlight was shining through the blinds so that I could see the shadow of Miss Hatch walking by now and again. After about 15 minutes, I found myself dozing off. Just as I began to fall asleep, I heard a scream that woke me up. It was Miss Hatch's scream. I ran out the door to see if she was okay. A massive, round, off-white object was in the middle of the parking lot, but I didn't see Miss Hatch anywhere. It was one of those things. It was about 6 feet in diameter, much bigger than the ones in the glass chambers. I ran to Miss Stripes' room and saw her come out. What was that scream? She said. She saw the big creature and screamed. I ran over, grabbed her, and said, It's one of those things. I think it just killed Miss Hatch. We've got to get out of here. Okay, maybe we can go to the airport now and steal a plane. I believe that Mr. Swirls is a pilot. Mr. Bland and Mr. Swirls came out and looked at the big object. What the heck is that thing? Mr. Bland said. But when Mr. Swirls saw it, he froze. The big sphere started to move towards Mr. Bland. Mr. Bland slammed the door and ran back into his room, but the sphere smashed through the wall and a scream rang out. Miss Stripes and I ran over to get Mr. Swirls, and the three of us ran to Mr. Plaid's barracks just as Mr. Plaid opened his door. What was that commotion? Mr. Plaid said. It's a giant sphere. It just killed Miss Hatch and Mr. Bland. We've got to get out of here, I said. What are you talking about? Those flesh spheres? They're harmless. Mr. Plaid walked over to see what had happened as we shouted for him to stop. He looked through the gaping hole in the side of the barracks where Mr. Bland's room used to be. The sphere rolled towards him so quickly that he could not react. The sphere crushed Mr. Plaid with a muffled crunching sound and then threw his flattened corpse into the air the same way a tire might throw a piece of gravel. The sphere stopped and created a gruesome, gurgling mouth with clear, razor-sharp teeth. The sphere's teeth looked like shards of broken glass. With a hideous, sloshing splash, the sphere caught the flailing carcass in its gullet. Miss Stripes screamed, and we ran into the parking lot and down the street toward the guard shack. We have to get to the airport and steal a plane. You can pilot, right, Mr. Swirls? Miss Stripes exclaimed. I was a pilot in the Gulf War for a while, but I flew helicopters and medevac, Mr. Swirls said, noticeably out of breath. You will just have to improvise, Mr. Swirls. We don't have a choice. The airport is about a mile down this road. Are both of you in good shape? We can't waste time resting. I am. I must be. As I recall, I was in the Navy, I said. Okay. How about you, Mr. Swirls? Can you make it without stopping? Miss Stripes asked as we all ran down the street. I hope, but I haven't run since I was in the officer training camp before the Gulf War. That must have been 10 years ago, Mr. Swirls replied. Not even a little? Miss Stripes said very concernedly. Not really. I have not had much time for exercise at the facility. I have been working on biogenetics for about 8 years, Mr. Swirls explained. Never mind, just come on, we don't have time to waste, I said. We all started to run down the street leading to the airfield. After about 5 minutes, Mr. Swirls began to go very slowly, and then he just stopped. I can't keep up this pace. I need to rest. You go on. I will meet you there. No, Mr. Swirls. That thing will not let us leave without giving us a chase. We have to go fast. Now get up. Let's go now, Miss Stripes exclaimed. Mr. Swirls started to run again, but he soon stopped, and we decided to try to help him run. I grabbed his right arm, Miss Stripes grabbed his left arm, and we started to run with him. After about 5 more minutes, Mr. Swirls was utterly exhausted and stopped trying to run. He slipped down, and we stopped. Get up, Mr. Swirls. That thing may be following. Come on, I said. I saw it at the top of the road. It was just sitting there as if it had been following us all along. We both grabbed Mr. Swirls and started to drag him, but he was so exhausted that he didn't even try to help us move him. The creature started rolling down the road toward us. Just go. I can't make it. We will all die if you stay and try to save me. Mr. Swirls gasped in extreme exhaustion. We won't leave you. Come on, you must get up, Miss Stripes said. No, it's coming. You don't have time. Leave me now, Mr. Swirls shouted, and then used all his strength to crawl to the side of the road and grab a small tree. I am not letting go. If you don't go now, you will die with me. Now leave. Mr. Swirls then looked at the oncoming sphere, which looked more massive. I had to make the call, so I grabbed Miss Stripes. It's too late. We have to go now, I yelled. As we ran down the road, I could hear the sphere approaching Mr. Swirls. It made gurgling and crunching sounds as it devoured him whole. It seemed he didn't have time to scream. What are we going to do now? He was our only pilot, Miss Stripes complained. I remembered that I was on a Navy aircraft carrier before all this started. I think I know where we can get another pilot, I said reassuringly. Chapter 5. The airport. There won't be any pilots at the airport right now. It's closed due to the quarantine, Miss Stripes responded. No, I mean, I could be the pilot. There is a small chance that I am one in the first place because I was on an aircraft carrier and in the Navy, I explained. Let's hope so. That seems to be our only chance now. We could hear the sphere as it seemed to follow us, making juicy rumbling and thumping sounds. I thought a sphere that size could easily overtake us, but it seemed to stay back about 100 feet and just followed us down the road. It's just following us. I don't think it wants to eat us yet, I said. I was thinking the same. It must be close to 7 feet tall by now. It should be able to catch us with little effort if it wanted to, Miss Stripes said. We decided to walk the rest of the way. Running seemed pointless. However, we kept a watchful eye on the sphere, which always stayed the same distance away from us. We finally arrived at the airport. There was an 8-foot-tall razor wire fence surrounding the airport. How in the world can we get over this without killing ourselves? Miss Stripes complained. I don't know, but maybe there is a gate we could go under or climb the large steel post that holds up the gate. Typically, those posts aren't razor wired across the top to cut down on maintenance. We walked down the length of the fence toward the front gate. When we got close, we could see that it was guarded. Oh, shoot, this messes up the plan, Miss Stripes said. The sphere following us started scurrying, about 30 miles per hour or more. It flew past us, rumbling as it rolled along the ground. The sphere smashed through the gate and headed to one of the guards patrolling the entrance. The guards jumped in surprise and started to run away from the sphere. The sphere opened a mouth that seemed to have just been created from within, ripping open its flesh with a deep, slushy moan to open its newly fabricated jaws and eat a guard. One of the guards stopped as the sphere devoured his companion. The only remaining guard then started to shoot at the sphere. The bullets seemed to sink into its flesh pathetically as it rolled unaffected to devour the remaining guard. After eating the last guard, the sphere rolled off into the airport and stopped about the same distance it had been staying away from us. After closing its mouth, the sphere seemed to dismantle its jaws, making deep, wet clicks and pops. Flesh quickly grew over the sphere's mouth, sealing it up seamlessly. Why does it keep doing that? It could easily have eaten us by now, I queried. What I am more worried about is what is happening at the facility. We are not in danger if those things keep avoiding us, so I suggest we investigate, Miss Stripes said. I think it might be me somehow. When I was on the ship, I had been attacked by something, and Keefe said that those things had gone down the same staircase I had just come up on before I met him on the deck. If I had been in the hallway before they came down the stairs and attacked, they must have been near me and didn't kill me for some reason, I said. We could test your theory if you don't mind being my little guinea pig, Miss Stripes stated. Okay, so I just walk towards it and hope for the best while you stay back here, right? I asked. That's what I had in mind, Miss Stripes replied. Okay, here goes, I said. As I walked toward the sphere, it then began to back away. Then I ran at it, and it rolled off, then moved to the side, and started to roll so that it stayed the same distance from me but moved towards Miss Stripes. I stopped and ran back to Miss Stripes, and it rolled away and smashed through the fence. Okay, obviously it's me that the sphere doesn't like. You should be safe if you stay close to me, I said reassuringly. She agreed, and we started back up the road to the facility. As we approached, we began to smell acrid fumes like acid burning through things. Oh, that smell is powerful. I think something is very wrong here. We need to determine the extent of the devastation and try to find survivors, Miss Stripes surmised while holding her nose. Okay, let's go and try to find as many people as possible. I can keep the spheres at bay so that the people we find will be protected, I said. I hope there are some still alive. I will miss them. I liked Mr. Paisley. He had a good sense of humor, Miss Stripes said. We arrived at the front door. The glass and frame were completely smashed, and glass and twisted metal were everywhere. We stepped carefully over the debris and entered the building. Miss Stripes, I said softly. Stop calling me Miss Stripes. I can't tolerate it in this situation. Call me Jillian Watts. It's nice to hear your first name finally. Mine is Dag, that's all I remember. The security booth was smashed. The large elevator had been catapulted through the ceiling into the parking lot. We could see harsh greenish fumes coming up from the slime-coated shaft where the elevator used to be. Oh, this is a disaster. There is nothing we can do here, Jillian said. Fine, let's return to the airport and leave. We should never have come here, I said. We heard deep, rumbling explosions coming from deep within the facility. The ground shook, and the walls swayed. We ran as quickly as we could outside. The day was beginning to break. We saw the faint outline of some people in the distance on the other side of the fence in a field climbing out of the hatchway. As the last one of them climbed out, a small sphere sprung out of the hatchway, ripped open a mouth, and landed directly on his head, decapitating him instantly. Blood squirted out of his flailing body as he fell. The others screamed and ran towards the fence. The ground erupted around the hatchway, and a giant sphere emerged, outpacing the screaming people as it surged toward them. It split open 3 different mouths on different sides of its body. As the sphere overtook them, it bit their bodies in half one by one, flinging their legs into the air, squirting blood as they twirled. Oh, no, Jillian said, covering her eyes and weeping. I rushed over to her to console her. I'm okay, Jillian said weakly as she buried her face in my chest. I knew them, Jillian said. We hadn't been paying attention to the big sphere that had crept up close to us. We looked up and gasped as it towered over us. Its bulging white flesh seemed to ripple as if digesting its latest meal. We stood there frozen, unsure of what would come next. We felt our veins filling with ice, our vision narrowing to a tunnel, and all sound dissipated. It exploded. A great wave of slime swept over us and washed us down the hill. Everything went dark. We were covered with dry slime like crystallized pus when we woke up. We broke out of the crusted slime, walked to the airport, and got on a plane. I was a pilot, after all. We flew to Honolulu, Hawaii. It was covered with what looked like molten lava rivers. The slime. How long has it been? Jillian asked. I don't know. A very long time, I said. We flew within visual range of a gigantic crater, which seemed to have been formed by the slime near the city, which was filling up with the lava-colored amoeba from rivers flowing out of Honolulu. We decided to get clear of it as soon as we saw it, so we flew to a nearby mountain range. We were still close enough to the crater from our aerial vantage point near the mountains to see it. When the crater filled up completely, a massive explosion made a mushroom cloud, which was so catastrophic that it breached the outer atmosphere, making most of the amoeba rush into space. The rest fell back to Earth in a hail of slime. We discovered after a long time of searching that all the cities and towns in the world were decimated in the same way. It seemed that the whole world was destroyed, and we were left apparently to repopulate the world, for we found no one left alive who was not under the control of the slime.